Hi, Craig. There are a lot of great qualities to this portrait. I like the way that you're handling the nose. For example, mouth is looking good too, and even that little hollow under the nose and above the mouth. Um, let's see. With regard to the eyes, it seems as though their shape has been regularized. They look very neat and almond shaped. And I'd say look for more nuance, look for idiosyncrasies, and perhaps let the iris be more centered in the eye. Um, with hair, work on a language that suggests hair more so. The big darks, big lights idea that we were talking about with a four-step process can be very useful with regard to the hair. It seems as though this fellow is shrugging, as if his shoulders are being hunched up a bit. Um, that's an unusual pose, and sometimes in drawing it makes sense to choose a pose that will come across well in the drawing. Alonda, there's a lot of intensity to this first portrait. The nose has been drawn with great care. The right ear also has a degree of intensity to it, the crinkles in the lips. I would simply encourage you to work more on the whole as a total versus isolating features or elements. Um, there's a lot to look at here, and it's really interesting. Perhaps you're aware of artists like Egon Schiele and Gustav Klimt, or even Paul Klee. There's a certain feel that reminds me of their work in yours here. Now, the picture of the baby. This is funny, to see him with his tongue sticking out. Um, I would encourage you to try to introduce into the baby's face and clothes values that are as varied and ranging as we see in the hat. Lindsay, I like this light touch that you're using and the quality of the subject smiling. I believe that this is the first assignment. I'd like you to take a look at my drafts review where we discuss the matter of the smiling model when drawn from life. I'm thinking that the top of the head may be a little bit wider, and I would encourage you to include in your drawings a neck and shoulders. Now let's think about value too. There is some value, but if you use obvious lighting, you're going to see light and shadows clearly. And I think you'll find that the whites of the eyes actually don't look to be the white of the paper, that they'll look a little grayish for being shadowed by the brows and set in, in the hollow where the eye is. Well, hi, Mike. This is really a beautiful portrait that you're working on here. Be sure to post your drawings right side up, please. I'm wondering if this is charcoal, and I'm going to go dig around in the discussion and see if you've made any comment, because I know I asked you before. Adding a second portrait to the first portrait drawing could be okay. It sort of bends the rules a little bit, or you can see that we have two separate assignments, but if this is an interest of yours, I can see that you're making this drawing here this week, so that could be okay. The only little clincher is that the first assignment was intended to be one in charcoal. Now, let's see. I just want to talk a little bit about the girl, and I know it's hard to draw a portrait with a head that's turned sideways like that. Actually, it looks pretty darn convincing. I like her nose. I feel that at top, her head could be a little more wide, including more hair there too. I'd like you to check that. Well, hi Matthew, we've already discussed your first drawing here, and with the second one, wow, a beautiful value drawing in charcoal. One suggestion for presentation for future in your portfolio and so on is to place the photo reference to the side of the entire composition. We want to see your entire drawing. So here the lower left has been obscured. Let's see. I feel that you've got a good likeness and definitely a lovely feel for the head. I'm thinking that your subject from this angle has a narrower face. It appears to be longer and leaner. I also think that there's a bit of foreshortening going on where her lower face, her mouth, her chin are looking a little small because the forehead's tipped toward us, which makes your eyes and nose look big. I would check the length on your nose. What a lovely portrait here on the left. The subject looks straight out at us. It's a little spooky almost. There are a couple of things you might check. However, a slight bit of stylization sometimes can make the drawing more interesting. So I was going to say it might be that the mouth could be wider, the nose perhaps is a little bit long. I wonder if the eyes are halfway and whether the eyes might be a little bit wide. However, none of these things really troubles me, and I think the drawing is quite stunning. I like the way that the hair twirls and the absence of shoulders seems to be okay. Looking at the baby, well, even if your photo might have had the baby off to the side, that's something that's easy to correct in a drawing. I'd say drawing baby's hand is kind of a tough task, and it always does help to have the baby in front of you to examine how the hand looks from different angles. Adam, I don't think that this portrait of the boy has changed since I took a look at it in dress, so I'm going to suggest you listen in there for ideas on this first drawing, if you haven't already. The second drawing is quite stunning. I really like the unusual pose. To see the body in profile and the face frontally is, well, attention-getting. And the big smile is really lovely. We've already had a discussion here about how smiling with a pose that's drawn from life is kind of a difficult matter, but it works really well here in this portrait from a photo. I like the way that her body sort of makes a rectangular shape there, and that's reiterated with the part of her arm that we see below the sleeve. Hi, Latron. My first response to your first drawing is, wow, provocative. And then my second is, was this actually made for this assignment? Because as you know, the assignment is a portrait, and virtually all the examples given were head and shoulders formats. And then I wonder, was this model posing for you throughout the entire time you were drawing? And was this drawn in charcoal? Well, let me get into looking at the portrait itself, which looks to be, quite lovely. The one thing that I would advise you to be wary about is the dark area that goes as dark can be. There, the side of her face, between her face and her hair, actually on both sides. I think there's probably some nuance there, and usually that sort of thing can be seen. You can see modulation there if you're drawing from life, but drawing from photos, it just goes all black. In your second drawing, I like the way that the symmetry of the face is offset by variety in the hair. The hair is parted to the side and it curls differently on either side. Daniel, there's a lot that's really beautiful about this portrait. I love the way the nose was handled and the subtlety of the soft mouth. The ears appear accurate. Perhaps the stare of the eyes is a bit intense. Notice that the pupils seem to be darker than almost anything there. It seems as though the subject might not even be looking at us, but instead is dazed or reflecting inward. As was mentioned by one of your peers in a critique, it would do good if you could find a variety of values in the hair. Think about that big darks, big lights idea from the 4-step process. Hi, Matt. This actually has a lot of vitality to it. I like the way the hair is handled there to the left, under the jaw in particular. I want you to pay more attention to the appearance of the mouth. I think you're going to see a shadow underneath the lower lip in the center, but at the outer corners, that edge is going to dissipate to just about nil. Your nose looks really good here, and I like the right eye a little better than the left, and I think that's because the pupil seems to be a little low on the left eye. Also, even if the subject's wearing eye makeup, I'd suggest that you refrain from outlining the eye all the way around. Things look good with this second drawing. I guess if there's any area to check, it might be the mouth and chin. Just make sure values land in the right places there.